This is Dr. Sahla Aroussi from the University of Leeds, and I'm here joined by Dr. David Duriesmith from the University of Sheffield. And we're here today to talk about our joint paper, Mapping the Margins, a Decolonial Exploration of Kenyan Women's Encounter with Violent Extremism.
Great to be here with you, Sahla.
Great. So I think the first thing we perhaps would like to talk about is why we have written this paper.
This paper was based on fieldwork that you did in Kenya with colleagues a few years ago. Maybe it would be useful if you can explain why you started this paper and what you wanted to say with it.
So we kind of really wanted to explore why, how should we understand violent extremism as a framework for understanding the harms in women's lives. So we conducted this workshops in Kenya using body mapping as a research method. And in these workshops, participants were actually using the term of violent extremism to talk about the different harms in their lives. Now, this included harms by the police and state authorities, as well as harms within their communities, and also the harms that they have experienced at the hands of their partners and men in their lives. So we did find these findings very intriguing. And this paper was really an invitation to look at how should we understand the use of violent extremism in this context as a framework for understanding the harms in women's life. It was really important as well because this time coincided with research by many feminist scholars calling for broadening our understanding of violent extremism to include other forms of harms. Um, we also thought it was important to write this paper because we felt that the method of particularly body mapping offers a unique approach to understanding violent extremism from a bottom-up perspective, but also has a great decolonial potential in enabling participants to tell the stories they want to tell and to express their views about their lives. Now, this was really particularly important because many of the feminist literature that looks at the impact of violent extremism on women and terrorism on women as well, they tend to exclude the voices of those most affected by it. And so we thought that this paper can bring all of these together quite nicely. And yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we've done a good job. Yeah. So David, yeah.
I think there's a really interesting element there where our paper is not trying to redeem the framework of violent extremism from critique, and it's a framework that we still find deeply problematic. But our argument has been that the lack of engagement with women's voices and experiences has meant that the literature has missed the agentic ways that women are using the term violent extremism to resist different forms of violence in their life, even when they are being subjected to quite problematic policing through countering violent extremism initiatives. And there's something interesting there about how women are trying to use the term at the same time as critiquing it that we think comes out particularly through the use of participatory arts-based methods that may not have been captured through elite interviews or textual analysis, which have been quite dominant in this field.
Thank you, David. I think this is really a great summary of what we're trying to achieve here with the paper. If we talk about in terms of the key contributions that perhaps the readers will find interesting, what would you say are the key contributions of the paper?
I would say first is that participants were very critical of the term violent extremism, but still found it useful to understand a variety of forms of violence: intimate partner violence, community level violence, violence from countering violent extremism police, and from militant groups themselves. The second finding, I think, is around how critiques of the term violent extremism that don't engage with those uses of violent extremism might miss its utility for some groups to resist forms of violence that they face. I think the third finding is really around the use of these methods as a way to understand the link in lived experience between different forms of violence.
I think this really sums it up quite nicely. I think I would like to really invite you to read the paper. This is really kind of very kind of a different take on research, using different approach, participatory as well as bottom up, in this space that you tend to be overlooked in research on violent extremism. It is not really a policy contribution, as David said, but it is more of a methodological as well as critical contribution to research in this field. Thank you all. David, anything else to add? Thank you. Well, we hope you enjoyed the paper. Thank you.